BBB. Ooh, check it out. We got my deep carry MXG pocket clip. Ooh, yeah, much better. Bigger improvement. It's actually a customer's knife. He sent it in for some sharpening. You can see little scuffs and scrapes on there. You know, he wasn't quite getting the edge that he was looking for. He said he was getting some micro damage when he was sharpening it. Just wasn't getting the finish he was looking for. So he's thrown in the towel. He sent it to me, my services, to sharpen this up for him and do a professional job. So we're going to get this guy sharpened, but let's examine the edge that we have to work with here. We can see a lot of crossing, a little bit of micro damage there, a little bit higher there on the tip, little pinhead fractures. He was saying that he was getting some fractures while he was sharpening it. So yeah, we'll clean this guy up. We're going to be using the metallic bonded CBN stones from Gritomatic. These are really cool. I got the 400 grit and I got the 1000 grit. Had these for a few weeks. They're pretty fun. You know, Spyderco has a double stuff too, which is a CBN stone. This is actually a coated abrasive. You can see that shiny spot in the middle where a lot of the abrasive grains have torn out. So it's a lot more of an affordable stone than the Gritomatic, but the Gritomatic has 3 millimeters thick of CBN abrasive, and CBN abrasive is actually incredibly expensive. About this much right here, which is 10 grams, cost as much as a brand new Spyderco double stuff too. So this stuff is very expensive. So yeah, we're going to be using these guys. I'm going to put them in my little custom stone vise that I made. I really hope Gritomatic makes some sort of freehand setup for Edge Pro stones, because that would be really, really cool. This is a little custom hack job. Tighten this guy down. You can see how that's pinched on there. And yeah, so the bonder of these is actually a copper tin alloy, so it's really cool. And then we've got little CBN grains poking up. And again, this is CBN grain throughout, so you get 3 millimeters worth of abrasive, very slow dishing. So we're going to start with the 400,000 grit combo, and then at his special request, we're actually going to jump over to the 3K edge. I don't normally do that because it reduces the edge endurance, but he really, really insisted, so we'll do that. Then we'll do a 1 micron diamond strop on leather, and that'll really bring up the crispy, crispy edge that we're looking for. Give you guys a close-up of the edge I'm working with again using my USB microscope that Josie Twin Dog gave me. And we can show you guys, you know, he didn't do a bad job of sharpening. It's just that it looks like we didn't follow through all the way down to the apex. And we've got a little bit of convexing there. And you can see at our very, very apex, it's just not very refined. We've got little microchipping. We've got that wolf ear at the tip there. Not much we can do about that since I'm not going to be sharpening up to that shoulder. I'm going to bring it down evenly at the shoulder that was created. But he did get a very nice, crisp shoulder line there. But really, you got to bring that down all the way to the apex. You know, not as bad as a lot of jobs I've seen from a lot of other sharpeners, and I don't got anything really bad to say. Especially, I like what he did here, all the way back towards the heel, where the heel of the edge meets the ricasa. He was able to get that very, very even, which is nice. And so, just giving you guys a close up here of the finish, you can see the little bits of micro damage. All that little micro damage matters, and he was telling me that he was getting that from sharpening while he was sharpening. Now, I don't know if the micro damage was caused by using too much pressure, improper abrasives, or making the burr too big, but a combination of those things will cause you grief when sharpening Maxamet. So we'll kind of go back up over here, show you guys some more of the little bits of micro damage that we're going to be getting out on the stones. Especially right there, we've got some micro damage. You can see how it's kind of convex though too. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and wipe the stone down, and I like to dress these stones. Constantine was recommending doing like a chemical dressing of the stone with ferric chloride, but I think mechanically dressing the stone is much more superior. Makes all the CBN abrasive grains poke up out of that copper tin metallic bonded bonder. All right, so we're gonna go for it, and it's kind of boring, man. This is what we do. We just sharpen back and forth. We stop, we look, we check the angles. Not much to it, really. You know, people, I had one guy ask me, he's like, how do you know you're getting a consistent angle? Well, I stop and I check and I feel it out. If I'm too low or too high, I'm trying to get it consistent from the shoulder all the way down to the apex, as crisp as possible. And it just comes with practice. Being able to watch your scratches and being able to take your scratches all the way down to your apex. That's the goal. So these stones have decent feedback. They got a little bit more feedback than you're going to have on your Veneve diamond water stones. And they cut a little bit faster as well, but they are incredibly expensive, I will say that. But they're not going to dish. They're very dish resistant. Now, as far as how much they load, you can see we've got metal filings on top of the stone. The stone actually doesn't load almost at all. You can see I can just wipe these metal filings off. They don't actually clog inside the stone because the stone doesn't really have any pores to it. It's just a metallic bond. So I want to give you guys a close-up of the 400 grit edge. We need to clean this guy up a little bit, so I come back and do some soft passes, and yeah, you can see how the light is reflecting much better now after doing some soft passes. We'll stop here. I got a burr, and I want to show you guys that Maxamet does indeed form a burr. I had some people tell me that Maxamet doesn't form a burr. You can see right here, yes, it does form a burr. Look at that tippy tip there. I still need to get the burr all the way out there. And then I'll show you guys the opposite side here. See the finish much cleaner. You can see how we've reduced a lot of that convexity. We've been able to get from the shoulder all the way down to the apex. We've still got little bits of damage. You know what? I'm not concerned about those. That damage will come out when we sharpen the opposite side. Okay, when we make it meet the apex that we've created on this side, then yeah, we'll have a nice, very, very crisp edge and all that damage will be removed. But you've got to make sure you do the best job you can. The knife should be pretty sharp off the 400 grit. I mean, not hair whittling, but it should be very sharp. And there's that kind of wolf ear I was telling you about. You can see where my scratches, I'm going to make my scratches just go follow through there. I'm not going to go up and meet that wolf ear up there. So now we're going to sharpen the left side. Man, I really recommend switching to your left hand, when it comes to sharpening the left hand side, because it'll just make you a much better sharpener. That's what Aton Zayas taught me, and I forced myself to do it, and it made me a better sharpener. So I recommend you guys do that as well. It's painful at first, but it's super worth it. Switch to your left hand. Stop, check, all the boring stuff, but you got to take your time. You got to make sure you're doing a consistent job. So after I form the burr here, I come back through and I do some soft passes. It's just incredibly light pressure. These help clean up my finish and get any kind of strong burrs to kind of weaken up a bit, so that when I come back through and do very, very light pressure, precise edge trailing strokes, I'm able to clean off the burr tremendously. Okay, and this is very stressful right here. You got to make sure you have your dexterity, that you're able to hit that. I'll give you guys a close-up. This is a clean 400 grit edge. Okay, this is probably one of the best edges if you're just cutting cardboard and stuff like that all day. It's going to be the edge for you. You see the little scuffs from the previous sharpening job that the cusper did. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. This is how sharp your knife should be on your coarsest stone before you move up. You should be able to do this. Okay, if you can't do that, then don't rely on the higher grit stones to make the knife sharper. You should have a sharp knife, and then you should be refining the apex as you move up. So we're going to switch out now from the 400 grit to the 1000 grit side. And it's as easy as just flipping these guys over. And I like clamping them in this vise, and as well as stacking the stones gives me the height I need to kind of come over that rubber base. And again, we're going to mechanically dress the stone with a little silicon carbide stone dresser. Come over, wipe that, stone grit off there. Yeah, just go for it. We're using a little bit lighter pressure than we were at the first time when we were doing it on the 400 grit. Slightly less pressure, because we already have a sharp edge. We don't want to crush it and round it. We just want to make sure we clean up the finish, and we want to get a burr. All right, so now we're going to move to the next side after we got the burr. The burr is going to be much fainter as well. And we're going to come through and sharpen this guy up. A little bit lighter pressure. We want to make sure that we're as consistent as possible. I'll give you guys a close-up now of when we're done. This is a clean 1000 grit edge off these Veneve CBN. Not Veneve, sorry, the Poltava Ukrainian stones. And you can see a 1000 grit edge should be able to bite into your dead skin of your thumb pad very, very easy. All right, you should be able to just bite right in there. If you're smooth, okay, if you've lost that crispness, then basically you've crushed your edge. And this is a close-up of that 1000 grit edge, and you can see we're much shinier than we were on the 400 grit edge. Okay, it's got a lot more of a reflection to it. It's not quite a true mirror, and there's still some deep scratches there, but a little bit more reflective, and you can see that here on this shot. It looks a lot prettier when you're not as close up to it with the USB microscope. And this is without stropping too, by the way. This is just kind of as is. So your 1000 grit edge should be able to crop a hair. All right, maybe not consistently, but it should be able to at least catch a hair and cut it. And so that's how you know that your 1000 grit edge is good to go, And this is without stropping. I can't stress that enough. And from the very, very heel all the way to the tippy tip, you should be able to at least catch a hair and crop it a bit. Not super consistently, but at least catching it. And that's where the stropping comes in handy, is the stropping is going to really make this finish pop, and the stropping is going to make it more consistent at being able to treetop hair. And so I'll show you guys how we're cutting on the paper here. A lot more of a finesse, more of a precision edge. We'll be able to do, you know, a lot smoother, cleaner cuts. If you guys could listen, it'd be a lot quieter as well. So get this stuff out of the way, and we'll pull the strop out here. And the strop, again, is just a 1 micron diamond spray on leather. And I find that the leather just keeps, or the spray keeps the leather supple. Okay, if we used an emulsion or something like that, then that seems to stiffen the leather up and reduce the options we have for stropping. Now I'm just going same angle, light pressure, because I don't want the leather to deform and crush the apex that I have on there, or come up and round it over. Because I've put in a lot of work to make sure I got this edge as crisp as possible. That's a really important thing. You'll find throughout the process of sharpening this knife, it's something I'm really stressed out about and making sure that I'm achieving. So I'll give you guys a close up there. Finish is just a little bit brighter, and we'll check it under the USB microscope. And I'll give you guys a close up here when we're done. Some better lighting. So finish this guy up. Feel the edge. All right, let's set this guy down. I'll give you guys a close up here. So you can see we're just a little bit brighter on the finish. I mean, it's not like a super duper mirror finish or anything like that. It's still a medium grit edge. There's a left-hand side right here. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about too, as far as like, yeah, we can catch the hairs a little bit more consistently. It's definitely a crisper edge. The diamond compounds really crisp the edge up. A lot of people use the green compound. That stuff doesn't work as good for knives, I feel like, especially really hard steels like Maxamet. You need the diamond compound. Here's a close-up. You might not even be able to tell under the USB microscope how well it's improved the finish, but it's got a little bit more luster to it. You can see a little bit more reflective. You can especially see it right here. We got a lot more of a glow to it. So here's the edge compared to the factory edge on my knife. Top knife is the customer's knife. Yeah, this is probably the perfect edge, but he wants the 3K, and the 3K will give you more precision. It'll make you a sharper edge, but it'll reduce the edge aggressiveness, as well as it'll drop the edge endurance. But my customer fully understands that. I belabor that to him, and he wants it, so we'll give it to him. And it'll definitely make a lot more of a hair shaving edge. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to dress the 3K. This is a 3K Naniwa Diamond Waterstone. I had some of these for sale. I still do have a few of them for sale if anyone's still interested. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and wipe off what we cleaned there, what we dressed the stone. We want to make sure that the diamond abrasive is poking up out of that hard resin bonder, because that hard resin bond doesn't break down. And so just same thing. If we use light pressure on the 1000 grit, we're using even lighter pressure on the 3K grit. Now the feedback on the stone isn't as good as the CBN water stones, but it leaves you a much better finish. Even the 800 grit 91 Diamond Waterstone finishes better than the 1000 grit CBN. But these guys cut a little bit slower. They have a little bit less feedback, but they leave you a brighter finish. So still making a very, very subtle burr with these guys. It's going to be very, very faint, though, very difficult to detect on the 3K. So we're going to finish this edge out, make sure we get it nice and clean, and then we're going to jump straight over to the 1 micron strop and show you guys a close-up. Usually I'm not going to strop between stones. I just wanted to show you guys that beforehand. And here we have it, not even touching the skin. You can see that we are just able to just pop these hairs off like nothing. It definitely increased the sharpness of the edge. We can consistently just treetop and crop hairs like nothing. So it's definitely increased the sharpness of the edge, but I'm telling you, it's definitely reduced the endurance. If we're cutting cardboard and stuff like that, this kind of edge is just not going to hold up as long as something that's a little bit more toothy and aggressive. So it really just depends on what you're cutting. And if you think about it, a pocket knife is kind of designed for cutting boxes and stuff. It's not made for doing this kind of stuff, shaving hairs and stuff, but it's cool, you know, it's sharp. And you can see here just how silky smooth the edge just slides through the paper. Very enjoyable, you know, really, really sharp, you know, good time. I'll show you guys a close up here of the edge. You can see it reflecting the light there. That's that line right there as it reflects the light. We still got deeper scratches in there, but it's definitely a much, much brighter edge. And you could also see right here how we're reflecting light. Beautiful luminescence, beautiful reflection. And this is only a 3K edge. So that's about as high as I would ever want to go on a pocket knife. See a close up here of the edge I've done for the customer. Edge is now finished. Here it is compared to my Man X2. I went back and I touched my Man X2 back up, so they also look both, very uniform with each other. Put a 3K edge on the Man X2 that I have. Yeah, and that's going to be probably one of the sharper edges you're going to find on Maxamet. And so if you need my service, these are a few tools that I have. And yeah, I've been enjoying this edge a lot. I think it's kind of a really fun edge. It's mostly skill, not tools. You can have all these tools and maybe you won't get this kind of edge. But yeah, I think he's going to be very satisfied.